In Hong Kong, if a person has an affair, it actually has no impact on the finances. And for women, I believe it's very important to take that into consideration. Oh, if you cheat on me in the future, I get a compensation.
I get all the money.
Yeah, so that infidelity clause is not enforceable in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, the court does not really care about the reason for the breakdown of marriage. And it's very difficult for the court to assess and adjudicate who is right and who is wrong. The court will not cast a moral judgment.
Welcome back to Girl City. I'm Rosie. Today we have a special guest in the house. Please give a warm welcome to Jocelyn, a distinguished lawyer from Wizards.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn.
Jocelyn is an esteemed legal professional specializing in family law practice. Today she will share with us her expertise on the subject of prenuptial agreement. So, what exactly is prenuptial agreement?
Prenuptial agreements basically means an agreement where couples enter into before they get married, which governs their financial arrangements in the unfortunate event that in the future they were to divorce, essentially.
Oh, I see. So could you please give us some specific examples of what will be concluded in the prenuptial agreement?
Okay, so usually, as I said, prenuptial agreements are to govern what would happen financially if people were to divorce. So the usual terms of a prenuptial agreement would be if the parties were to divorce in the future, how would they split the assets, whether or not there should be spousal maintenance or alimony, as some people call it. And prenuptial agreements can also have some agreement on children's maintenance, as in the future children's financial arrangements. Now, because the children are unborn, and the court usually would look at the children's best interests, overriding parties' agreements. So usually prenuptial agreements, we wouldn't advise parties to lay out what the children's future custody and care arrangement would be. So essentially, it's all about financial split. Some of the common terms or styles of prenuptial agreements would be to exclude certain categories of assets. And the usual kind of categories would be, let's say, inheritance, so things you inherit from your parents, gifts from third parties, including parents, so if your parents pass you a property, or premarital assets, so things that you have earned or accumulated before you get married. Because these kind of categories of assets, by nature, has very little to do with the marriage. So usually couples would want to say, okay, if we were to divorce, we exclude those. So I'm not going to share in yours and you're not going to share in mine. And we only agree on whatever was accumulated during marriage, how we split it, whether it's 50-50, as the law requires, or if we want to have another alternative arrangement of our own.
I see. So who should consider signing a prenuptial agreement? Is that exclusively for affluent individuals, or is it a prudent step for ordinary people as well?
Good question, because most people used to say that prenuptial agreements are just for the rich and famous, right?
Yes.
Hollywood celebrities.
Yes, celebrities. Yes.
However, my personal view, after having dealt with so many divorces in my career, is that prenuptial agreements are actually something I would advise most people to do. So ordinary people. It doesn't have to be the ultra rich and famous. The reason for that is because when you get married, you never know what would happen financially as you carry on with your marriage. Currently, it may be that you both have similar earning capacities. Your financial disparity is not that huge. But for whatever reason, if one party accumulates more wealth or earns more than the other, and say, for instance, the other person cheats on the person or commits an adultery, would it still be fair for you to have to share half of what you have earned to the other party? Some people may think that's unfair. So prenuptial agreements would govern, okay, if we were to have a divorce, maybe I keep whatever I've earned and you keep what you earn, which is fair for normal, young, financially independent couples.
The prenuptial agreement is to safeguard both parties,
yes,
the interest of both parties. How can it effectively protect both of them?
All prenuptial agreements, in order for it to be valid and enforceable in court, one of the very important criteria is the terms of the prenuptial agreement has to be fair. what do you mean by fair? Fair means...
Yes, that's what I want to ask. What do you mean
because
by
it can be
fair?
subjective.
Yeah.
So fairness in the eyes of the court essentially means that whatever each party will get is enough to cover their basic needs. So no one would need to live on the streets or have nothing to live by, essentially. So as long as you meet that fairness requirement, then the court will uphold it. So all prenuptial agreements, if done properly, should protect both parties, not just one party's finances.
I would like to ask that, would people think this might have impact on the trust between the couples?
Yeah.
Like people might say that, why you want to sign a prenuptial agreement? We are getting married. Why you want to make this kind of things?
I understand it's natural to think so. And it's a very difficult and awkward subject to approach your partner on, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I think since you're getting married, since two people are getting married, they ought to be discussing about things like finances, which is a very important element in every couple's life, whether or not they are married. And so if parties were to enter into a marriage, make such an important step in their lives, it would be natural for them to start talking about their finances. And prenup is a perfect opportunity for parties to open up that conversation. And actually, speaking from my personal perspective, because I myself did a prenup with my husband, after having done a prenuptial agreement, because you've had to engage in such a difficult conversation, you had to be open and transparent about your own finances and your expectations in the marriage, it actually helps parties build trust rather than defeat trust, in my opinion.
You said that help each other to build the trust. Like through what kind of way?
Because then you would have totally understood everything about the other party. Normally, sometimes when you marry the other person, you may not know everything about that person. And finances is a very tricky topic which some people don't like to talk about. And I've had a lot of clients who actually, when it comes to a divorce, they have no idea what their spouse earns, whether or not their spouse has properties, etc., which I find quite bizarre. Openness, I think, is a very important element in a successful marriage. So since you have to be open about your finances, you need to share it with your spouse or your partner when it comes to signing a prenuptial agreement. It actually helps you trust the other person, because if you're willing to give and provide to me such information about yourself, such private information, I should trust you more because you are so open to me, and vice versa.
Does this clauses or provisions in the prenuptial agreement are all related to money?
That's an interesting question. So some clients, when they come to me to sign prenuptial agreements, they want to put in clauses that we call infidelity clause, such as saying, oh, if you cheat on me in the future, I get a compensation.
I get all the money.
Yeah. So that infidelity clause is not enforceable in Hong Kong because, yes, because the court in Hong Kong, the court does not really care about the reason for the breakdown of marriage. And it's very difficult for the court to assess and adjudicate who is right and who is wrong. The court will not cast a moral judgment, and therefore infidelity clauses are unenforceable. So I would advise people not to put it in. The second kind of unenforceable clause is things like household affairs, how you conduct your lives during marriage. For instance, if I do household duties more, then I get a compensation. Or there are even maybe couples who said, oh, you need to have sex with me X number of times a month or something before as part of your duty. If not, you breach it, then there's a consequence. So these kind of clauses which govern how people conduct their marriage are also unenforceable, because the court is only focused on finances. The court will not be in a position to deal with anything else.
So the most important and essential thing is still the finance. Okay. So I thought this kind of cheat things can be put in the prenuptial agreement.
No, it cannot. And one thing that most people don't know is in Hong Kong, if a person has an affair, it actually has no impact on the finances. And for women, I believe it's very important to take that into consideration, because I've seen a lot of cases where there are the women, the female party is a financially stronger party, and it's more common nowadays. Women are more powerful, independent. In that kind of situation, if the husband has cheated on her, or she is the one who earns more money, brings the bread and butter to home, she's also the one who takes care of the children when she has finished work. in that situation, even if the husband has cheated on her, the court still presumes that their contribution is equal. So the court will not penalize the husband for having cheated and will not look at, okay, you have contributed more because you're looking after the children, you are the one who earns more money than your husband. In that situation, for women to still have to share half of her money and even maybe pay the husband monthly spousal support can seem very unfair for the women. So prenuptial agreements are there to help you avoid that situation, because currently if you leave it to the court to decide, the court is not going to look at who's right or who's wrong, who has contributed more or less. So prenuptial agreements are there also to actually protect women who are financially independent.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for sharing all this information with us. And if you think this is helpful, please remember to subscribe to Go City. See you next week.